Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, there we are. We're having fun.
Welcome back
Welcome back
on a brand
muchachos.
new episode. We're excited to dive into some wisdom and advice
Oh my goodness,
today.
yeah. We have a lot of wisdom today. I'm full of wisdom, and you're full of wisdom.
That's what's up. I'm
And
excited.
who are you, by the way?
I am Tyler DeLao.
And I am Val DeLao, and I'm his great-great-great-great-grandfather.
Nice, we got the timer. We live streaming on Twitch right now. Yeah, I think we're live streaming on Twitch right now, so anyone who's over on Twitch, check us out on YouTube. And if you're watching this YouTube video, go check us out on Twitch. We're going to be all over the place.
You're correct. Taco breath. We're having fun. I don't know why, but I feel happy today, and I feel like full of spunk.
I feel happy today, too. I had a good week. Did you get a lot done?
At my age, if you get up and you put your shoes on and you might take a shower during the day, you've done a lot already.
That's what's up.
No, really, I'm amazed at the things. You're going to find out sooner or later that getting old is it's an experience. It's not fun. Nobody wants to get old. At least I didn't. But here I am. I look at myself and I said to myself, I'm an old man now, but I'm a vibrant old man. I don't sit in the corner and think about dumb things. Once in a while I do, but for the most part I keep very busy, and that's a secret when you get old. Keep busy. Find things that will interest you and do them. Write a book, work in a yard, find a young girlfriend, do whatever you want to do, but keep busy. Because as long as the mind is occupied and the body is moving, you're going to be all right.
Have you ever written a book?
I'm starting to write a book. I have about 50 pages written.
Really?
And the last time I saw you, I have not written a darn word yet. I got to get inspired for some reason.
What inspires you?
That's a $10,000 million question. I don't know. But all of a sudden I get a burst of energy, or I get nostalgic, or I get something. There's a spark there somewhere that lights me up, and then I get a pen and I start writing things. I do keep a journal, though, and that's one of my advices to people. Keep some kind of a journal, a tablet, something, and write your experiences, and write things that you heard. Like the other day you said something, and I wrote it down, and you know what? I lost it.
Oh, man.
What was it?
Maybe some sort of philosophical statement or something, but I don't remember.
I remember one that you said, when you bury an old person, you bury a library.
Something along that
something
line.
Along those lines. And you said something else the other day, and I do not remember. I wrote it down.
About a book? About people who travel?
Yes. Something about a library or something?
Yeah, if you think of your life like a book and you never leave your city, and you don't travel, it's like you only read one page.
Exactly.
To read more of the story, you have to travel to other parts of the city.
Nuggets of knowledge, and I think you ought to write them down. I have a journal.
I like the journal
And
thing.
I have a journal,
yeah.
and every so often I think of something, or even my own. You'd be surprised what your brain can produce. And sometimes you can produce some little nuggets yourself, and you write them down. Like this morning, I was writing things down, things that I don't advise. I get
things you highly
for
dislike,
advice.
things you really don't like, right?
Things that I like, people that I don't like.
Okay.
I was the other day we were talking about legacies. Did I tell you? The other day I was in my kitchen table, and I was looking at my refrigerator, and on my refrigerator I have a lot of pictures of my family. Grandkids, friends, brothers and sisters, some who have died already, etc. And then I said to myself, well, that's my legacy right there. In a way.
All the photos on the fridge?
Exactly, because I come from those people, so therefore that is part of my legacy. And I have children that I produce with the grace of God, and grandchildren.
One of those grandchildren, he owns and runs a martial arts studio, right?
That's correct. My grandson Omar, he's a school teacher. He's about to get his master's degree.
Very cool.
And he's 30 years old, and he's I'm very proud of him because I helped raise him.
Okay.
And the biggest compliment that my daughter, his mother, paid me one time, she said when he was born, Dad, I'm going to raise Omar the way you raised me. And that made me feel so good. And I haven't forgotten it. And by the way, that's one of the things you ought to enter on a journal. And so that years later...
Like you would write in your journal, I feel happy that my daughter gave me this compliment.
Exactly.
And you would write
now
that down?
You got it. You got my drift. And I think everybody ought to keep a journal. And because as you get older, like me, you won't be able to be... I used to ski a lot.
Really?
I don't ski anymore.
Okay.
I used to water skiing and snow skiing. I used to do all kinds of things when I was younger, and I don't do them anymore. And I'll never forget one day I talked to Johnny Morris, a very good man, and he also was the anchor of the news here on some of the TV stations. And when he retired, I called him one time. We were talking on the phone. Because we knew each other quite well, but now we were older people. And I asked him, I said, Johnny, by the way, he was a tremendous skier. And I asked him, are you still skiing? Oh, no. He said, I don't ski anymore. I said, what do you do? And this time he was 90 years old. He says, I do old man things.
Was one of those things like journaling?
He says, well, what do you do like that? He says, I get up in the morning and have breakfast.
Oh, that's it.
Shave sometimes. Those are old man things. But
do old men still have dreams at night? Do you still remember your dreams at night?
Oh, yes. And you have sex dreams.
Still? At that age?
Do.
Okay.
And they're dreams.
Okay.
I wish they were real, But sometimes
Don't we all?
Sometimes you have these wild dreams. Oh, my goodness. That's one of the things that surprised me in old age.
Is
thought
it
that
clear?
People, when they got old, like older women, now I can only get together with older women because a young girl would not have me. And I wouldn't have her either, by the way. So anyway, but I was surprised when I went to this place that they have older people and they gather there and they dance and they introduce themselves and they talk, etc. And I talked to a lot of older ladies, and one of the things that really surprised me is I thought that these ladies, when they got to a certain age, they didn't think about sex. And it's exactly the opposite. They all wanted sex. And I couldn't provide it.
Woo! That's a nice little audio test. That was funny. Yeah, that's a good placement.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I wanted to, but, men, as you get older, you cannot perform like you used to perform when you were 20 years old. But the older ladies surprised the heck out of me. The reason why I say that is because one day I was sitting in a bar, and this lady came and talked to me, and she asked me to dance. And so we kept talking before we danced. And she said, are you Val de la O? I said, yes, I am. I used to watch you on TV. Thank you very much. And then she said to me, what are you doing here? They had never seen me before there. And I said, I'm here because I lost my wife 4 years ago. And I live alone, and I'm kind of looking for company. And she said, what are you looking for in a woman, if you would? I said, well, there's certain things that I would like,
Hair?
But I'm looking, I don't want...
hair?
Hair?
Yeah.
What do you mean hair?
Just kidding. It's one of the things that you're looking for.
Is hair?
Yeah.
Well, that would help if they have hair. No, but what I told her was this. I said, I don't want to live with anybody. I have my own home, and I don't want to move with anybody. I have my own home. I don't want any women to support me. I have enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. I don't want to support anybody. I said, I'm not particularly looking for sex. And when I said sex, I could see a very disappointed look in her face.
When you said you weren't looking
I did not. I said, I'm not looking for sex.
How was the disappointment portrayed
I could see
in
it
her
in
face?
her eyes. It kind of a disappointment in her eyes.
Maybe her body deflated a little bit.
Well, you know, you can
A
tell.
little shrug.
You can tell the body English and the way I could see, like she went, "Oh, really?" You know, and I could see she was very disappointed when I said, "And I'm not looking for sex." I said, "Well, what are you looking for?" She said to me, and I said, "Well, I'm looking for maybe companionship." And she said, "Well," she says, "why don't you get a dog?"
Damn.
Ooh. So now you know why I still live alone.
And that's why you told her, that's why I'm on a date with you.
That's correct. So here I am on a podcast with Tyler DeLaO, because he's the only one that will have me for about an hour and a half.
Hey, we have a good time. We have a fun time here.
Time.
You've been mentoring me a lot, too. I am taking into play, like, some of the things you're telling me, you know? You're helping me out, and I hope we can continue to help anyone else that's listening.
I keep telling you that we learn from each other. You'd be surprised some of the things I've learned from you. Some are mostly are good, but well, what I'm saying is that we learn from other people what we ought not to do, and what we should do. Not all of them are good. I'm sure not everything that I see is good, at least to you or to anybody else. But we learn from each other. I go to the senior centers once in a while, and I teach naturopathic medicine there, or I have friends and we talk, and you'll be surprised how many times I learn something or they learn from me. I have a couple of friends of mine who are pharmacists, and I sit with them because I'm a doctor, and I sit with them, and sometimes they have some questions, or I have questions for them. Pharmacists are very well educated people. You know, they know a lot about medicines. They're doctors, really, doctors of pharmacology.
Okay.
And so we're all doctors, really, in a sense.
So what are some of the things that you learned from them?
Well,
at the
I
senior
learned not to be a pharmacist.
No. It's too boring for you?
No. You know what happens with some of these professional people? They work too hard. They work too hard. When I went to naturopathic school, I remember that we were taking a little bit of what we call pre-med, you know, things of that, because you have to, they're all entwined one with the other. You know, if you're learning naturopathic medicine, you end up in medicine, actually, and vice versa. And future doctors study about nutrition and acupuncture, whatever. So they're kind of intertwined. And one of the things that I learned is that medical doctors work too hard. Oh, my goodness. I wouldn't want to be a doctor. In fact, according to statistics that I learned some time ago, medical doctors die at the age of 54, somewhere in that area.
Just from the stress of working too hard?
Too long hours.
Well, maybe what's a piece of advice you might give
Don't become a doctor.
Workaholics? What if you're too far in? You're 12 years in the education. You're not turning back.
You know, if you like it, some people have the vocation. And if you want to be that, certainly that's one thing to do.
Well, let's take it a step back from a doctor, maybe just a workaholic in general, right? Someone who has a difficulty taking a day off or feels like they should be working 12, 13, 14 hours every day. What's maybe some advice we can...
Don't work too hard and don't get too involved. I'll tell you why.
But how?
You're going to lose your marriage.
Okay.
A man or even a woman, they work too hard and their career becomes so important, and they're working to 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night every single day, even on weekends. What happens is that their spouses start to mess around, and they find pleasure somewhere else, and that's the break of a marriage. You should be careful with your family. Always be vigilant with yourself. Don't go. You know, when I used to be a marriage counselor, I used to find out that women and men that strayed from their spouses, it was not a thing that they got up early one morning and they're going to say, okay, I'm going to leave my wife or I'm going to leave my husband. That is not the thing. It's a gradual thing. And women would tell me, says, you know, my husband no longer pays attention to me. Valentine's Day comes around, he didn't send me flowers or takes me to dinner, or he works every night till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and he doesn't come home, and they start getting lonely, either men and women both. And next thing you know, they run into somebody, the neighbor down the street, or somebody who pays a little more attention to them.
The milkman.
The milkman
The
or
milkman.
the newspaper man. Of course, the newspaper man, they throw the paper now, but
I thought those were kids too.
that's right. But really, it's they find fulfillment in another person, and before you know it, they touch a stray, and next thing you know, one day you're sitting there in your house, and here comes this guy with a funny uniform or whatever, and he serves papers on you.
Oh, I think he's serving more than papers.
That's true. That's true. It could be the server, the paper server.
Oh, like you've been served, you're going to court kind of guy?
Yeah.
It could be anyone really. You're saying,
That's true.
yeah, okay.
But that's one of the advices that I wrote the other day on my list of advices that no man can give a young person.
So, how to be a workaholic less is just
No,
focus
don't be a
on.
workaholic.
Is one of the ways how to is just focus on spending more time with the people you care about.
Exactly. Even with your children, you'd be surprised the common complaint about children when they grow up and they say, I wish Dad would have spent more time with us or Mom.
Well, did your kids or your grandkids, did you ever have trouble connecting with them? Maybe like just because they played video games and you didn't understand it, or there was just a generational
A little bit, but
type-
in my case,
How would you connect with your kids if it's a difficult thing? If you
learn
just-
what they are doing.
even if you don't like what they're doing?
Well, you might not like it. Nobody likes everything 100%. I don't particularly like this podcast 100%.
I kind of disliked learning a lot of the technical shit about this podcast.
I'm telling you,
it
there's
sucked.
a lot of things we don't like. I don't like to change the
Wires.
oil in my car, but I have to
Yeah.
drive a car.
But you get to the good part, which is
The good part is that you are inside a car instead of on a horse. See? And so,
I hope we weren't inside horses.
'cause can you imagine changing the oil on a horse?
No, I can't imagine that.
But no, life is not perfect. We have to take the bad with the good, and the good with the bad. But if we have more good than bad, then we have a good life. That's why I was telling you a while ago. As you get older, you miss certain things. You dream about them most of the time. You told me if you dream about sex or whatever it was.
Just yeah, that was actually a point I wanted to follow up with journaling, like dreaming at night. Like, do you dream at night? Is it more vivid as you're older? Is it harder to remember your dreams as you're older?
I don't remember too much because I don't remember dreams. Dreams are funny. You can dream them, and then the following day you don't remember what you dreamed. Or some people say dreamt, but
I've got a piece of advice, and that's a dream journal. I did it back in high school, and it was for the purpose of lucid dreaming. Have you been able to lucid dream at any point
yes,
where you're dreaming in the dream?
exactly.
Yeah, I was trying to trigger that intentionally, and with some research, if you wake up and write your dreams right away, right after you wake up, you usually forget most of the dream within the first minute of waking up. So if you write it down, you go back and read it and go, oh, I remembered that, and you do that for a month or two, my experience was that I was able to trigger one real lucid dream. It was pretty cool. I made a bicycle fly.
Keep a pad next to your bed with a pencil,
It's got to be handwritten.
because if you write it down in the morning, you'll be surprised what you wrote.
Yeah, always you forget what you wrote.
And that you can put it into a journal, and
Start digesting your subconscious, really. If you're able to write down the things that happen in your dreams that you would forget, I mean, that's pretty insightful. if
it's
you're
it's
awake.
interesting to know yourself.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, know yourself. Know yourself. What makes you tick? What makes you think? What makes you laugh?
What makes you tick like a clock?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
in a way.
Okay.
What makes you? What motivates you? What are things you don't like in life? What are things you do like? And know yourself pretty well. Some people don't know themselves. Some people do not know, for example, they're obnoxious.
Oh, they're unaware that they are obnoxious.
Well, they think there's something else. They think they're funny and they're not funny. They think they're good looking, they're not good looking. They think they're tall and they're short. or they're short, they think they're tall, etc.
Yeah.
There are people like that. Some extreme cases I've read, people who think they're an animal.
Yeah, this is
They act like a
interesting.
cat. I've seen people who do a lot of plastic surgery to look like a cat.
Yeah. There's definitely people who feel trans species, but on the other end, there's a fetish called furries, and they just like to wear like animal costumes and bang it out. That's a whole weird thing. But the actual mental state of thinking you're a cat it's an interesting thing to feel like you're a different species on the inside. I mean,
Well, do you have to put a litter box if you're a...
this is actually a huge issue. Is that they had in one of the school. I don't know what state. There was a school where there were kids identifying as cats, so they tried to turn the janitor's closet into like a third bathroom with a litter box, and a bunch of parents got very angry, and some people on the school board got very angry. I could find the video for the next episode. We don't need to dig it up. Maybe our camera guy can look for it while we're talking. But this lady, it's also been a problem in some companies. Some people in companies are claiming that they feel other species, so that they're putting litter boxes in some extra rooms in the actual corporate buildings. And it's I don't know how prevalent it is, but I have definitely heard this of. Okay, so it did not provide litter boxes for students identifying as cats, but they're trying to do it. People are trying to get litter boxes and extra bathrooms for their species-related stuff. I find it fascinating.
I think it's dumb.
Well, it very well could be, but maybe it's not.
That's one of the things I don't like. See, you can start writing things you don't like. No litter boxes for humans.
No litter boxes for humans.
I was writing the
That's
other
fair
day things that I dislike and stuff like that, and I have a lot of them.
Well, have you ever had one of the Japanese toilets, one that shoots water up to clean you?
No, I tried to drink from one.
God. What? You tried to drink from a bidet?
I thought it was a drinking fountain.
A bidet, like a French bidet?
Yeah, well...
Oh, God. Just wash your face in it.
Wash my face. I washed my face, and then I drank from it. I thought it was a drinking fountain.
What, like way down there?
And I thought maybe because it was down low, I thought it was for Japanese people.
My God.
Because they're short, see? And it was shooting water up, and I said to myself, well, maybe this is a fountain.
And you drank out of it.
Well, if the cats drink from my toilet, that's one thing that I do not understand. I have a cat.
Yeah.
And he adopted me, and he came to the house one day, and I felt sorry. I started to feed the cat. What I do not understand about this cat, and if I was a cat, I would ask him. I put a bowl with lots of food and another bowl with water. But he insists on going to the toilet to drink water. Why does he drink water from the bowl that I left him there? He drinks water from the toilet.
I think the bigger question is, why is your toilet seat up? Just
close
the lid and the cat won't drink it.
Well, that's true, but I felt sorry for him because what if he goes without drinking water all day long?
I think he's made it this far, right?
So anyway, I saw him this morning, in fact. I had this bowl with water and a bowl with food, and all of a sudden he was meowing from my bedroom, and he was angry with me because I closed the door.
Well, here's a question. Do you feed him dry food?
Both dry food and wet food.
Cats in nature get a lot of their hydration from their kill. So the cats will get their hydration from wet food a lot easier than just trying to make them drink water. So I would just feed him more wet food. Yeah.
But why doesn't he drink the water from the bowl?
I don't know. We could pontificate on that all day long.
He goes to the toilet and drinks water from the toilet.
You want me to say flavoring? What do you want? What do you want me to say? I don't know what to say here.
I haven't tried it. Maybe it's a good thing.
Who knows? We do not advocate for drinking out of the toilet, so don't do that. Especially if you identify as a cat, just keep drinking fresh water. Unless it's the back of the toilet. Survival situations, you can drink the back of the toilet.
That's one of the advices that I would give somebody. If you build a house and you have 3 toilets or 4, whatever you have in your house, be sure you keep the lid down on the toilets, because otherwise the cat, the cat's going to want to drink water from all the toilets.
Okay.
And so people think, well, my house has 4 bathrooms. And in fact, this happened to a friend of mine one time. They built a beautiful house with 4 bathrooms. And the grandfather, like me, came over to look at the new house. And he said, Grandpa, what do you think of my house? And he said, well, how many toilets do you have? And they said, we have 4. And he says, well, you better flush them regularly. And they said, why? If we don't use them, you still flush them regularly. And he said, well, why, Grandpa? He said, well, because a cat wants to drink fresh water. Cats like to drink from toilets. By the way, my neighbor told me that the other day, that his cat drinks from his toilet.
All right, we got to get to the bottom of this. If anybody out there knows or has some reasons, just DM us, because my Uncle Val is very fascinated and very perplexed by why cats...
Well, I'm perplexed. I'm not necessarily
fascinated.
Fascinated.
I'll tell you what's fascinating is your handwriting. I cannot read it. You gave me a note sheet to maybe bounce off of today, but I can't read a damn word on this.
Oh, let me see.
Yeah. Are these...
yeah. Well, it fell out from my...
There you go. Oh, okay.
I have a clearer version which you still cannot read. Anyway, I was writing things this morning, things that I do not like.
Okay.
No, the advice that I can give to young people.
Okay.
So, you want me to start?
No.
No.
I want you to just sit there in silence.
Whenever you're ready, let me know, and I'll give you some advice.
All right, I'm ready.
First advice, don't hang around with a young kid that does stupid things.
Does it scare you?
It scared me.
Every time.
It does. It scares me.
You're healthy. If you weren't healthy, I wouldn't be scaring you like that.
Really?
I would be afraid it would give you a heart attack. But you can handle it.
Well, I can handle anything.
Hell yeah.
All
right. So
I can handle anything.
What's some advice?
Well, one of the advices that I heard is very, very good from an old man to a young person. He said, don't ever trust a fart.
Okay.
True.
Fair shout.
Now, it doesn't make any sense to you because you're young.
Oh, it
but
makes
when
sense
you get
to
older
me.
like me, don't ever trust a fart.
I can relate. Sure, yeah.
No, but there's other things that that I'll tell you. I have written a few of them. Do not hate women.
That's a really good piece of advice.
Do not hate women, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you a good way not to hate women.
Misogyny is bad.
Exactly. Think of this. Your mother was a woman.
Okay.
You don't hate your mother, do you?
No, not at all.
Okay. Your grandmother was a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Even your great-grandmother was a woman. Your wife is a woman or will be a woman. In your case, you're not married, but mine was a woman, and I loved her. When I lost her, I almost went bananas. And I have 3 daughters, and they're women, and I love them all. So we're surrounded by women. But the first one that comes to my mind is my mother gave me birth. She gave me life with the grace of God. So how can I hate women? I love my mother, even though she passed away many times. So don't hate women.
Okay. And for women, don't hate men.
No, because you hate men also. How can you have children without a man?
A test tube in a laboratory. But you still need the sperm.
No.
You still need the
sperm. Where are you going to get the sperm?
Gotta come from biological male. Yeah.
Because robots don't produce sperm.
Nope. So I don't think robots aren't going to.
I know you're into robots, but robots don't produce sperm, so you got to rely on real men. Not on old men like me, but on young guys like you.
What about cloning? The what's the word I'm looking for? The morality of cloning a human being. Do you think that would be wrong? To grow another human, like if a company came, or like let's say a government science agency came to you and they said, Val, we would like to see how your DNA plays out next century. Do we have your permission to take some cells and grow basically a clone of you? It won't be you. It'll be a different person inside, but essentially it'll be you biologically.
No, I wouldn't want it.
No?
I wouldn't want it. I'm very jealous when it comes to my, I hate to say it, sperm, but offspring that would emanate from me in some way.
Oh, you don't want your lineage to outdo what you've done? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not jealous about that. You know, I'm hopeful that my grandkids will do better things than I have done.
Okay.
I've done nothing really spectacular, but I'm jealous about
Your DNA?
my lineage. I don't know. If I have children or grandchildren, I want to be close to them. I want to be part of their lives. And
Oh, so you're saying if you had a clone, you'd feel bad that you wouldn't be a part of its life?
that's part of it, but I'm jealous because of me. I want me to be me, and me is emanating itself and manifesting itself through my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. I told you the other day I have a great-grandson now, and every time I hold him, I say to myself, I'm going to live in the future through this child, because this child is carrying my genes, and my genes will be in him, and I will be able to live through him. And in a way, I'm kind of seeking immortality in that way. But can you imagine somebody cloning me somewhere?
Being what?
To clone me.
Oh, to clone you?
I don't like that.
I don't think I would like it either, unless it was 100% safe and I could be a part of the process as far as
exactly.
watching
So now
him.
you're saying basically what I'm saying.
Well, it would be advantageous to the clone. I could be like, hey, I know how you think. I know what you're going to make mistakes and how you might feel about certain things. So here are some pieces of it. Like, it would be the real advice. No one would be able to give you better advice.
The cloner will not listen to you because you don't listen to the people that give you advice.
Damn it, you're right. I'd hate my own clone, wouldn't I?
That's right. You would hate your own clone. You probably would want to kill your own clone.
Oh, snap.
So don't do it. Don't clone yourself. Besides, who wants another Tyler DeLaO? I think one is enough.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when we were born, God made us, and there's only one Val DeLaO. There's only one Obama. There's only one Sinatra. There's only one.
Well, what about your twin sisters? That's kind of.
They're similar, but they're not
clones.
identical.
Oh, they're not identical.
Nobody's identical to anybody else.
Okay.
Nobody in the world that I know of in the whole creation. When this person was born, there was only one person. There's going to be only a Don Rickles, a Thomas Edison, Tyler DeLaO, Val DeLaO, Obama, whomever they may be. That's it. And when you die, you die. So and I'm glad you're going to die.
Me too.
No, really.
I am. Trust me.
I'm kind of happy I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Not now, but eventually, because I'm kind of curious about life.
That's
about
how
death.
I feel. I'm just curious enough.
I'm curious what's going to happen. Maybe nothing, or maybe there's another level, I believe that we go in from the physical level to the spiritual level, and we become a spirit. And that's what I think sometimes. So I'm going to be a spirit instead of the physical Val DeLaO.
Neat.
So who knows? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But I do trust in one thing. I am religious. I believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do not, and to each his own. I don't criticize anybody, but I'm not an atheist. I believe in God. And I believe that we were created by God, and then some way, somehow, we're going to join with him in some way if we are good people. Don't be a bad person. I'm talking about murdering somebody or.
So what are some other pieces of advice?
Oh, I got lots of them.
You got a full-ass list there.
Yeah.
Be a good person.
Yeah. Don't get involved with people who have less to lose than yourself.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I'll tell you, because I have lost a lot of money that way.
Oh, shit.
You know, if I come to you with a proposition and I say, Tyler, I have a business here. We're going to start this business. And what I want to do, I know you have lots of money and I don't have any money. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do the thinking. I'm going to do the carrying and the driving. And you provide the money. And we're going to be equal partners. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to start driving. I'm going to start producing. And you lose all your money. I lost nothing. And it's happened to me 3 times in life. And so do not get involved in business or any kind of venture when the other person has less to lose than you.
Okay.
Remember that. Another thing that's parallel with that, don't ask advice from somebody who knows less than you. I have asked advice. I'll tell you an example. One time I was going to buy this piece of land next to my house, and it was real cheap. I mean, cheap, less expensive, and I had the money to buy it. And I told a relative of mine, an uncle of mine, I'm not going to mention his name because I loved him and I still do, and he's gone, but I asked him, I said, Uncle, what's your advice about my buying this piece of land? I'm in the process of buying this land. And he said, what land? I said, that piece of land right there. And he said, oh, no, don't buy that piece of crap. Don't buy it. He said, but he gave me all kinds of reasons why I should not buy the land. So I did not buy it. And 20 years later, that piece of land is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Your gut told you that. There was something about that land that you should have looked into, right?
Well, you know, I have told you the formula that I came up with one time, you know, real estate plus time equals wealth. And so I didn't buy the land. Well, 20 years later, the land sold about 6-7 times more than what it was worth in the beginning. Then I started to analyze the advice that he gave me. And I realized he had nothing. He didn't have just a tiny little house, but he didn't have properties, land, etc. So asking advice for somebody who has less than you is not a good advice, because he's going to give you the advice that he took himself, where he had nothing himself. Mm-hmm. Got you?
I got that. That's good. It's good advice.
It's like you asking advice from somebody about a podcast, and they don't have a podcast.
This is true. Yeah, you got to have the merit to back it up, right?
Go ask with somebody who has a podcast or a very successful podcast, and then you will ask him the right advice.
This is part of why we're trying to get different guests on. We just filmed a couple days ago with Eddie Brewer, and we'll be releasing that episode next week. Very fun, very exciting. He's a local musician here in town, and he plays jazz, and he does it like regularly on every week, a lot of nights out of the week. He's a regular at one of the steakhouses in town, and that's just some stuff that I don't know about. So it's good to get that advice from him,
exactly,
because he's honed in on that part of his business, So
okay, another piece of advice.
Yeah.
Always keep your car tank full of gas. At least once it gets to half, fill it up. I do that all the time.
Really? I used to do that, but I'll wait till it gets a little lower.
Like what? When you have two or three drops?
Well, I drive for a living. That's what I make my money.
True.
So I'm filling up 2 or 3 times a week.
Now, this advice that I give, I'm not saying that you to put it in concrete, and I'm not saying it's just general terms.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody with an exception to it, and I can understand that. But in general, don't wait till the last moment.
Same thing with your body. Make sure you're feeding it, fueling that tank regularly, because if you start to run on fumes...
Well, what happens is, like, the body itself, in the morning, like the other day, I had to go somewhere real early in the morning, and I had a little bit of cornflakes. Normally, I eat a bigger breakfast, but my body still had some nutrition in it. It's the same thing with your car. Don't take off and, oh, my God, I don't have any gas. And always keep your car full of gas, or at least half of a tank gas. So at least you have 30, 40, 50, or 100 miles to go on a gas tank. Don't get into debt.
Don't get into debt? What about just a little bit?
A little bit is fine. You can buy a house
How much
and you're
is too
making
much?
payments. Well, I would say be careful that your whole income is not being eaten up by payments, because then you become a prisoner of your own debt.
Okay.
And then you're working for everybody else. You're working for the finance company, the bank. You're working for credit cards. So you're a slave to the debt that you have.
I can attest to this. I'm clawing my way out of this situation.
So don't get into
right now.
debt.
So
And if you buy a house, pay the house. There's no better feeling. And I can tell you that too, because when my wife died, people asked me, well, you're going to have all kinds of problems. And I don't have problems. I don't have any debt. My house is paid for. My car is paid for. Everything I own is paid for. Even the cat that I have is paid for. So I could live on a real small amount of money. So don't try to pay your house off. I'm not talking about 20 or 30 years old, but I'm saying once you get to 50 years old, your house should be paid for.
So you're saying try and get that property in your early 20s, maybe your early 30s?
You can spend from 20, 25 to 50, 55 paying off a home, but
Right.
try to pay it off.
Okay.
Pay it off, because there's no greater feeling of security than coming to a home that is paid for. And of course, I had a cousin who never paid for any houses, and in the end, he had a tragic death. He committed suicide, and he used to tell me all the time. He says, "Well, well, you know what he told? He did something cruel to his wife. His wife always wanted to have a house, and he told her that the house was nothing." And one day they were driving by a lumber company, and they saw a lot of lumber piled up around there on the grounds of the lumber company. And he said, see, that's a house right there. But it's just in pieces, which is a stupid thing. But he said, that's a house, trying to discourage his wife from wanting to have a home. And every women, for the most part, like to have a home, because women by nature are nesters. You know what a nester is, don't you?
Yeah, like
Somebody who builds a nest,
establishing a home
like a
base,
bird is
yeah.
that makes a nest. Women are nesters by nature, and women like to have a home.
I think
and-
most people like to have a home. That just depends on the person. Some people like to go travel as expats.
We're talking in general terms.
Sure,
in
sure.
general terms,
Yeah.
there's always exceptions to the rule, but I think that you will need to pay for your home.
Another benefit of owning your own home, and what I'm going to be learning for this year when I do taxes next year, is we're using a couple rooms in this house right now to produce this podcast and other media projects, and we'll be making money off of these eventually, hopefully. And I actually can write off these rooms that we're using on my taxes. I can write those off because they're in the house.
Can you write me off?
Can I? I don't know if I can write you.
What kind of
People-
value would you put on me?
Priceless.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. You're a human being. Human beings are not. You can't put a price on a person. Maybe you can, but no, I'm just playing.
Let me see, what other advice? Don't waste time. That's one of the things that I don't like to do in life, waste time. Because that's what the least we have is time. You know, people that are 25, 30 years old, they think they have all the time in the world. No, you don't. By the time a person gets to be 40 years old, he's lived half of his life.
So someone my age should be acting with the urgency that I'm already 40, that I'm
Exactly.
already 50.
Well, I'm not saying urgency to the point that you are jeopardizing the relationship with your wife or
Right, no.
girlfriend or whatever. But yes, because believe it or not, by the time you get to be 40, you have lived half of your life.
I can agree and attest that in my early 20s, I didn't quite take planning seriously. I just kind of floated about, and here we are. And I thought I'd be a little further ahead than where I am. But now I understand if I work harder and with more urgency, like I'm already 40, like I'm already 50, then I'll probably have a better time. Just like
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't waste time. I don't like to waste time. Now, for example, when if I put something in the microwave and it takes 2 minutes to heat this thing that I'm heating in the microwave, I say to myself, what can I do in those 2 minutes? and maybe I can go and shine my shoes, or feed the cat, or make my bed, or shave something, write something in my journal, or do something, but don't waste time.
Like double dipping or triple dipping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because you'd be surprised that we don't have much time in life. You know, how long does a person live? 70, 80, 90 years old?
A few
That's
breaths.
nothing. That's
Yeah.
nothing. And sooner or later, you're going to run out of time. And you're going to say to yourself, oh, my goodness, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done that. And you didn't do it. If you're going to do something, do it now, today. Start a journal today.
It's better to do something half-assed than never at all.
Exactly.
Be willing to start with those mistakes.
You're right.
On the note of double dipping too, like I'm used to walking my dog multiple times every day, right, Uncle Val?
Yes.
And I would just walk the dog and listen to music. But now, since we're trying to get these projects off the ground, I've been making TikToks during the dog walks. So now, instead of just walking, now I'm making content, releasing it, and walking the dog at the same time. So it's kind of a double dip there. So just any kind of layering, I like that. I like that a lot.
And I've said this, given this advice before on one of these shows. If you love people, and I love people, particularly your family, tell them you love them. Next time you say your dad, I'm sure you do, because I love your dad. Tell him I love your dad.
Okay.
And
I do.
I know you do. I know you do, because I know you love your dad. But sometimes people don't say that. I tell my grandkids, I love you, Omar. I have a grandson. I love you, Nick. I love you, Sophie. I tell my daughters I love them. But even then, I don't think I tell them enough. Tell them. Every time you see them or talk to them on the phone, I love you. And some people have a hard time saying the word I love you. I remember that I look back in my life, and I had wonderful parents. My mother, my dad. I loved them, and they loved me. But I never heard my father tell me that he loved me. Never. I never remember my father hugging me. Never. And I miss that. And that's when I'm with my family, my grandkids, or my daughters, whatever. Every chance that I get, I hug them, and I tell them that I love them. And they hug me back. And they tell me they love me too. And tell them, because once they're gone, you'd be surprised how you're going to regret that. There's a lot of things I regret, and my father told me that one time. My father, we were sitting talking man to man, and that sort of thing. And he told me that he regretted that he was kind of cold towards us kids. But that was a sign of the times also. In those years, men and women were not very demonstrative to their children. And my father was not really to blame, so to speak, because his father was even worse than he was.
Damn.
So hopefully we're improving that part of life.
I think it seems to be so. I think a lot of people are.
When I see your dad, he's my nephew, and every time I hug him, I tell him I love him, and I kiss him on his cheek. And the wonderful part about your dad, Ralph Delao, he was named after my grandfather, his grandfather, and he hugs me too, and he tells me he loves me, and we really hug each other. I mean, tight, and that's the way to do it. Don't hug a person with just your arms all loose and everything. Mean it.
Do you think the kissing is more common in Hispanic culture?
Possibly,
Yeah,
but I don't really care.
you don't really care.
I think that people ought to be affectionate. Not on the lips or something, but even that would be all right. Some cultures allow that on the lips too. But but I kiss my kids on the cheeks, and my grandkids, and I hug them. But more than that, I tell them I love them.
That's good. That's good. I think that's a great piece of advice.
One of the advice that our Lord gave us, He says, I'm going to leave you with one commandment, He says. And the commandment is, love your neighbor like I have loved you, or something to that effect. That's a beautiful commandment.
Unless that neighbor's doing some sketchy stuff, and he might be like a Jeffrey Dahmer type neighbor. And Everyone thinks he's a nice guy, but really he's bringing bodies back every weekend.
I had a neighbor that was kind of raunchy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. He came and hit on my wife.
Oh, no.
He wanted my wife.
In front of you?
Well, no, but she told me about it.
Behind your back.
She said, you better don't let that guy in here. He says, he came in the other day, he hit on me.
What a
I
bastard.
said, really? Well, so you know what I did?
Yeah, what did you do?
I went and hit on his wife.
And then she went with it, right?
Yeah. And she accepted.
It shows him.
I showed him.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Love thy neighbor's wife.
No, not really. Not really. I didn't do that. I just. Let me see. I've written some stuff here about.
Maybe he took that love thy neighbor advice a little too far. your neighbor.
Let's see.
Yeah, you can't even read your handwriting. What is that?
Okay, here's the one that I think.
Can I show the camera? Can I show the camera a little bit?
I'm the only one who can read that.
It's like, I can't even see.
You cannot read it.
I can't read it.
I cannot read it, much less you.
Yeah.
Don't waste time being nice to a woman thinking that you're going to get into her pants.
Don't waste time.
Don't
Okay.
waste time. You know, some guys meet a girl.
So you're saying be straight up, just like how you were straight up with the old lady when she asked you, what are you looking for? You were just honest?
Exactly.
You didn't
Because let me
waste your
tell you
time?
whatever. No, well, I mean, don't be so rash and so impolite.
It's an art.
But I have a friend of mine, a cousin that I dearly, dearly love. And now that we got old, we talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in her mid-80s, I think. And she told me the other day that she had when she got divorced many years ago, she developed a formula. And the formula was, if she met a potential man that she might cultivate into a partner or etc., as she was sitting to him eating with that person or talking, she would picture herself in bed with him. And if it didn't seem the right thing, if she didn't like him for that, she would drop him.
Just the imagination while they're at the date?
Exactly. What I'm saying, not necessarily the moves or whatever, but in other words, I guess the word is intimacy. If you meet somebody and you're interested in that person, or they're interested in you, think of the intimacy part. Because you cannot have a real good rapport between a woman and a man if there's no intimacy. And so I don't care. Being nice is not being intimate. You can be nice and you can be nice to a dog, but you don't want to be intimate with a dog.
Okay.
I mean, or a snake or a rabbit or whatever the case might be. So think of intimacy when you're dealing with a human being. And if you're looking for somebody, like a man or a woman, that you're alone, you feel lonely or whatever, the intimacy part, you have to start right away with that.
Really?
Being nice is not going to work.
Well, how do
you
you
can be a friend?
How do you initiate intimacy on a first date with a stranger?
Well,
Heavy eye contact,
touching. I think touch is
on the shoulder or the hand.
Exactly. I think
And if they
touching,
pull back, that's
exactly.
not.
I think touching is the first way you show intimacy, by holding hands, for example. Now, for example, if you go to the park and you meet a potential girl or a man,
Mm-hmm.
and you're walking around the tulips or whatever, and the ponds or whatever, in your first date, if you don't hold hands the first time, you're not developing anything. You have to hold hands at least a little bit, touching.
Holding hands on the first date, it's too fast. It's too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but isn't it? But that's part of the intimacy part.
I think one of my key things is the humor. I can get kind of offensive, kind of, risque and dry. And if the humor's not being understood or reciprocated, it's just a no-go right away.
Well, you got to be a delao then, because in my case,
Okay.
I don't like people who don't have a sense of humor. And I have this brain of mine is manufacturing 10, 15, 30, 40 jokes a day.
Okay.
or humor things.
You want to tell everyone that the bear joke that you
the bear joke?
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you remember
have
how
you
it
heard
went?
about the queer bear
The queer bear? I have not.
who laid his paw on a table?
And that's it. If you haven't got it by now, I didn't get it for
Well,
the first
repeat
minute.
it.
Have you?
Have you heard about the queer bear who laid his paw on a table?
He laid his paw on the table. Yeah, well, his dad. Yeah, that's
No,
hilarious.
but getting more serious about this thing, what were we talking about?
We were talking about humor and
humor,
how it's
that's right.
how it's important on the first date for me.
I have this
you.
kind of weird, quirky humor, and if people are not receptive to it, at least part of it, or they do not understand it, it's a turnoff for me, because I like people who have a sense of humor. And by the way, medically, since I'm a naturopathic doctor, by the way, humor is very important to maintain your health.
Is it?
Exactly, because humor produces pheromones and other hormones in your body that are positive, and they enhance your immune system. And for the most part, laughter and humor, which is linked with each other, it's very important to have and to possess, because that means that you're going to be a healthy person.
I like that. So
people who are very bitter and always angry at the world don't live too long.
I had a point I was going to say about this. The humor, and we talked about roasting before. Have you thought about that a little bit more? If I should open up a roast challenge to the internet? We can put it on me. We don't have to put it on you. We can have them roast me.
Well, let's do it on you first.
No, hell yeah, let's do it. We'll open up Reddit. This is your chance. I'm gonna be posting this on a community in Reddit. We're gonna get some roasts going. Show me your worst. So, check out the rest of our podcasts.
I don't really. It doesn't matter to me if I'm roasted. I like roasts. I used to be a big fan of Dean Martin's roasts, and he used to roast celebrities or whatever. But all those jokes were written by very professional people, But be as it may, I like roasts, as long as they don't get too vicious.
They can, and I watch a podcast called Kill Tony, and the comics, part of the formula is the comics that come up, the amateurs, they get roasted, and some of them have a hard time taking it. They start to really get insecure, and it changes the atmosphere of the room. Everyone starts to feel bad, and then they get them off the stage.
Well,
but the guys that can stay there and take joke after joke about themselves, I do look like that. I do sound like that. It's just a really good show the rest of the way.
You can. There's a limit to joking. There's a limit to practical. I told you one time that's why I don't like practical jokes. I was in college one time, and I was sleeping in this dormitory, which I used to have my room there, and I heard the next room there was a kind of a timid guy, student, and we all had 2 students per room, and they were trying to get him riled up a little bit, to more active. And one day they played a trick on him, and they put a live snake in his cot. And when he went to bed, he felt the snake in his legs, and that was terrible. He almost had a heart attack. I thought that was cruel.
That's
I
mean.
I don't like anybody to be cruel to anybody else. If you tell me, I don't like, or I think you sound funny, or you sound like a jackrabbit, or whatever the case might be, that's fine. I can understand that, because what's the word? Self-deprecating, is that the way?
When you're mean to about yourself,
I can do it to myself. I can tell you funny things about me.
Yeah,
and you can. I'm sure you have funny things about yourself, and I don't mind that. But when you're cruel, there's a difference between being joking about somebody and being cruel to them.
So where's that line?
Well, the line is that don't tell them something that is going to feel real bad. For example, I have some members of my family, for example, they are bald.
Okay.
I don't say bald jokes to them. I don't remind them they look like that they're bald, And there's many times that I tell them that I could tell them, and I don't. Or that they're fat, or that they're short, or that skinny, or wrinkly, or I don't do those things. And if they told me that I was whatever I have that's defect, I'm just pretty close to perfect, but I'm kidding. But I'm saying is that I don't think we ought to be mean or cruel to each other.
I agree. Maybe make jokes about things that can change. Maybe more like clothing or hairstyle as opposed to part of their body.
Or if you're going to tell somebody who is bald something about baldness, turn it on to another person and say, well, I was at the mall the other day, and this man that was going bald or something.
His head was so shiny, I just had to rub it for good luck.
Exactly. Well, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or the glare, I couldn't see because of the glare. No. You know what I mean. You can limit yourself in not hurting people.
This is why
I do not like to hurt people.
Comedy is an art. That's why stand-up is a difficult art. It's very skilled people know how to do it because they can find that line.
The only one that I used to see that used to get away with that, and sometimes I didn't agree with him either, was Don Rickles. Sometimes he was cruel.
Yeah.
And I didn't like him. I like him for the most part, but sometimes he got a little too cruel.
It happens. You got to test the lines. Sometimes you cross them.
So you have to be careful. You have to be very careful with that.
I agree.
And anyway, let me look at my list.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Say something brilliant while I'm looking at this list.
Say something brilliant. Okay.
When that leprechaun shows up, you must suck my
Let's
balls.
see. Well, I guess we're going to have a quiet moment here.
Here's
I saw a leprechaun.
Let's see.
I've seen him come through here 3 days in
I
a row
can't read
now.
my writing.
March is St. Patrick's Day is coming up. I'm getting excited. Yeah, you still can't read your handwriting, can you?
Let's see. Let me see here. Don't.
Any advice about the police?
Don't write something that you cannot read. That's one of them.
Don't write something. Yeah, if you're going to leave notes, make sure that you can actually read them.
Don't cheat on your wife or girlfriend. That's one of them.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't. To me, infidelity is one of the greatest sins that a person can commit to another person. And I've done it. I'm not proud of it. I'm ashamed of it. But, if you want to correct something, you first have to admit it. You have to admit it to yourself, admit it to your fellow men. And so I did it when I was younger, and to this day I regret it. And so don't commit infidelity with your girlfriend or your wife or to your husband or whatever.
That's a good one.
If you're going to do it, just divorce them.
Divorce them or ask about an open relationship.
That's why I cannot
swingers.
That's why I cannot understand. I'm going to venture into something here that that maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to say it anyway. After all, I am a Catholic. I do not understand how priests, if they made a what do you call it, a promise or
a commitment
of being what's the word, not having sex. Celibacy.
An oath of celibacy.
How can they, being a priest, start messing around with another woman or whatever, or a man?
I think the problem is when they start messing around with kids.
Why don't they just quit? Quit being a priest.
It's an ego, probably, because they've fallen into a position that they feel important, they feel needed. And a lot of humans, when they get into the positions of importance, significance, power, whatever, they don't want to leave them because it feels good.
Well, that's true. You make a very important
point. I don't care what the position is, if you're doing it for good or doing it for bad. If you're important and you're having influence, whether it's good or bad, your brain is going to like it. Your brain is going to like it.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I graduated from naturopathic school, I remember that this member of the president of the school gave a speech to us. And he said, you guys are doctors now. You're naturopathic doctors. And doctors, like policemen, like priests, like the preacher, like your minister, you have a certain power over your flock or over the people that you're going to be dealing with. He said, don't abuse your power.
That's a big
Don't
thing.
abuse your ethics.
Yeah.
Because a policeman, if he tells you stand over there, you will stand over there. If he says stop your car, you will stop your car. A doctor is the same way. If a woman comes in and you ask her to disrobe, she will do it because you're a doctor. But don't do it just because you want to see her without any clothes.
Just like a police officer just shouldn't start telling people to do things without a probable reason or just to get off on a power trip. This is a big problem in our country right now.
Exactly. Right now we have a lot of people, a lot of policemen that they're being prosecuted and thrown into prison because of did horrible things. Like the case with that gentleman, Floyd. What was his name?
George Floyd.
George Floyd.
Yeah.
You know, here's a policeman, and he actually killed this guy only because he was a policeman, because he felt he had the power. Well, guess where he is now?
I don't know,
and
actually.
so he's in prison.
Oh.
So priests have that power also, and preachers and doctors and whatever. So don't abuse your power.
It happens, medical
If
malpractice.
you cannot control yourself, then quit being a doctor, quit being a policeman, quit being whatever, and do whatever you want to do.
It is absolutely possible to completely change your life and timeline, what you're doing. Like, you've went from being a television star for 25 years, and at a later age in your life, you're like, I'm going to be a naturopathic doctor.
Exactly.
And you can just up and quit some jobs like that and
Well,
find
you
a
know,
new one.
people reinvent themselves. You know, I have I
Adaptability.
get back to the cousin that I used to have. He was 79 years old, and he had some problems in his life later on, and he could not cope with them. And I used to tell him, why don't you reinvent yourself? And I have reinvented myself many times.
So
I'm reinventing
important.
myself right now. I'm
You
doing
are.
a podcast.
This is, it's very
And
it's
so far,
inspirational
I
to me.
haven't seen any food or any money or anything. But
We're working on it.
I see some dried up fortune cookers.
Oh, damn.
But sooner or later, hopefully you'll buy a burrito for me or something.
Okay. It's on the list now. I got you. We'll take you out.
But not really. But you have to reinvent yourself. Find interesting things. A lot of things over there. When I started on when I first went to UNM, and then from later I ended up. I had all kinds of jobs. I worked for a finance company as a collector. I worked in a shoe company. I sold shoes, and all kinds of things.
When do you feel the need to start the new change? When do you say it's time to reinvent myself? Is it after a really bad thing happens?
No,
Is it at a wall in your success?
Well, it possibly when you get real bored with what you're doing, it's time to leave.
When you get bored.
You have to find, as long as you're doing something that you like, it's not a job. It's falls into the category of career, and you'll happen to like it. But there are other people who are doing something and they don't like it. Case in point, I had a friend of mine who was a doctor, a damn good doctor, medical doctor, and he didn't want to be a doctor. He told me one day, he said, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't like it. I said, well, you went to medical school, you got your degrees, you're this and that, you can deliver babies, you can do whatever. He says, but I don't like to deliver babies. Yeah, but you can give injections, and I don't want to do that. You know what he ended up doing? He selling life insurance. Because when he was going to medical school, he supported himself by selling life insurance. So he wanted to go back to that. And he started an insurance company. And I know because I bought stock in his company.
Nice.
So once you get bored, that's the time to quit. People tell me, for example, I was on TV for 25 years. And do you miss it? I said, no, I don't miss it at all. And he said, why? Because I just don't miss it.
You did
I think about it once in a while. I have nightmares about it.
You have nightmares
I do.
about it.
Sometimes.
What's the craziest nightmare you have had about your show?
Well, I'll tell you, several of them. But the worst one, a nightmare that reoccurs to me
it's
about
recurring.
my TV show. It happens to me quite often, in fact.
Damn.
I am dreaming that I'm about to do the show, that I have a call to record the show or tape it,
Okay.
say at 4 o'clock, for example, or 3 o'clock or whatever, and I forgot to do my homework, write my jokes or follow the script or whatever, or I forgot to some certain videotapes, or I forgot to wear the proper clothes, or I got late, I fell asleep, and I couldn't make it to the studio, and I only have 15 minutes to go, and I got a show to tape. And we could not change the hour of the taping. We taped at a certain time, and then we typed the show, say from 1 to 2 or 2:30 or 3. Then I would go home, and then I would see the playback at my house. And I have those kind of nightmares that I was unprepared to do the show.
Right.
And I was always very prepared.
Your nightmare about your show is actually the formula of our podcast. Just showing up late with minimal preparation.
But in this case, I don't give a damn.
Hey, it's supposed to. We're learning. We're learning.
You're the one. You're my boss, really, or sort of.
Well, see, yeah, when you got into your
when
groove,
I go home, excuse me for interrupting.
Sure.
When I go home, I don't worry about this thing.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
To me, it's
Post and ghost.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you're the one who has to worry.
And that'll come as stuff grows, because right now it's a lot of testing. What's going to catch, what works, what doesn't, what feels good, what doesn't. So, yeah. But nothing like being naked, nothing like in your underwear in front of your audience. No?
No, not that.
No.
I just, really the preparedness is what really I have nightmares about. Because it took a lot of work to prepare the show. It took me all week to prepare for the next taping. And all week long, I wrote jokes. I wrote who were going to be my guests, and then I had to have a backup on that guest. So in case that guest didn't show up, then I have a backup. And what clothes were we going to wear? I wanted to be sure that the last time I didn't wear the blue suit, because then people thought I only had one blue suit. So I have to wear the striped suit or whatever.
So much to think about, yeah.
And a lot of little details, the devil's in the details. And there were a lot of details that I was in charge of everything. And I had to make sure that everything was right. And when we walked into the studio, I was the first one there. And I walked there about 2 hours before. And when my brother used to sing live and record, we would go through the songs 2 or 3 times again to be sure that we have... if you put no strings on the guitar, for example.
Yeah, that's not great.
That's not very good.
You got to play into
Not a good
them.
idea, because the strings will stretch, and next thing you know, you have an untuned guitar on the show.
I will always leave new strings on for about a week and make sure
That's
to
what we used
play
to
the
do.
heck out of them before I perform in them. Yeah.
Things of that nature. People don't realize that if you don't play the guitar, you don't know that's a good thing. That's a thing to worry about. But I did.
Yeah.
So I used to worry about all kinds of things. My brother used to drink once in a while, and I made sure, hey, don't drink for the show. Remember, we're taping Saturday. Because
That's a
sometimes
good
he will
shout.
do it and then and you'll be surprised it changes your character.
Yeah, alcohol can definitely sabotage a professional performance.
I had a comedian who would not write a single joke. I would write all the jokes.
Okay.
He would come in and say, okay. He says...
He thought he was hot shit. He thought he could just pull off jokes.
He did only because he has I told him one time, he said, the only advantage that you have over me is that you have the face of an idiot. And everything that you say is going to be funny because you have a funny face.
Was that the guy with the hat and the funny smile?
I don't want to mention his name, but I told him, I said, see, when I say something, it's not funny. I said, but when you say it, it's funny because you have a face of an idiot.
That's a good piece of advice. If you have the face of an idiot, recognize it. Be honest to yourself. Play into it. People will like it.
You have to take advantage of your assets.
Yeah.
And if you have an idiot face, we'll take advantage of that too.
Well, you told me he was one of the most adored parts of the show,
Oh,
right?
he
People
was.
loved him, right?
People loved him. Everywhere to this day, he's been dead for 21 years.
Damn.
And to this day, everywhere that I go, they ask me for him.
Okay.
And
he owned it. He was confident about his role, right?
he was confident about being a comedian. He was not
Okay.
confident about his life. He thought he was a failure. And sometimes comedians suffer from that.
Okay. Yeah, comedy's hard. If that's the only thing you're
it's very,
trying.
very hard. I was reading about Letterman the other day, and he went through rough patches in his life. And there's no guarantee they're going to make it.
I actually did my first open mic comedy night 2 nights ago. Monday night on Valentine's Day. I mean, it's been about 4 years since I did it. We're not going to show any because it was just all right, but it was fun. It was fun.
Did you get laughs?
Oh yeah, the bit was 3.5 minutes. I had, I think, about 6 jokes with punchlines. A few of them had like almost developed punchlines, and every joke except one got laughs, chuckles, reactions. There was one joke that I said it didn't fit in the flow of the other jokes, and when I said it, everyone was just like, "Ooh." It was a little offensive. It was quiet. I knew right away that one didn't land. But we got a little video of it so I can look back and review it, because I think that's important too. If you're trying to perform,
you have to know yourself and your weak points and your strong points. I did a comedy act one time about for 5-6 minutes on a cruise ship.
A cruise ship?
A cruise ship.
Fuck
and,
yeah.
I remember that they told me there were going to be a lot of Hispanics on this cruise ship.
That's a great venue because people can't leave.
That's oh, okay.
That's why you got that gig.
Touché.
No, I'm just playing.
See, that's a good one.
Yeah,
but anyway, they couldn't leave. But anyway, they told me there were going to be a lot of Hispanics on the cruise ship.
Okay.
So my jokes were geared to the Hispanic audience, the one
nice.
they're familiar with this kind of humor. Well, when I went I glanced at the audience, there were no Hispanics in the audience.
Oh, shit.
And I said, oh, my God. So I still said my jokes, but they didn't draw any laughs at all.
They didn't land?
Even my wife didn't laugh.
When nobody's laughing, she's not going to be the only one laughing.
She wanted to hide.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough to bomb.
But that's true.
That's one of the biggest ego checks that I have appreciated is back when I tried comedy for the first time in college, just bombing. That'll put your ego in check, man.
That's correct.
That'll let you know how much you suck.
Can you tell us one of the jokes you said the other night?
Yeah, I'd rather not. I'd like to refine them, work on them. I'll put up the bits on social media.
What the heck? You have an audience of one.
I'll tell you the one that didn't land.
Okay.
It didn't fit. It was kind of in the middle of it, and I said, "You women better exercise those rights before they get fat." That was it.
What?
You women better exercise those rights before they get fat. And it's not. It was at the tail end of another joke. But yeah, you can see why it didn't land. It's offensive.
That's a cruel joke.
It is. And
it's an insulting joke.
Yeah, I was like, oof, didn't feel good on stage either.
Well, I'll tell you one of my jokes that I said on a cruise ship that didn't draw anything.
Tell me.
Nobody laughed. I said that, remember, it was intended for an Hispanic audience.
Okay.
And I was thinking of it as an Hispanic. It didn't turn out. I said that that I had asked, what was it? I was, let's see. I said I was almost thrown off the ship because I wanted to water ski behind the ship or something to that effect.
Okay.
And I would have to refine the joke now, but
it's probably been a while.
Didn't do anything. And then I said, when I fell in the water, I knew that the ship had a lot of Hispanics because I found some graffiti on the propeller.
See, I get it. That makes sense to me. Graffiti everywhere.
Stuff like that,
Okay.
But
nobody.
But I was a big bum. I didn't do anything. So that's all right.
Yeah.
It's good to try things you haven't tried before.
Absolutely.
Because then you know your limits to yourself. The worst sin that a person commit is to think that you can do something and that you're good at something and you're not. I'll tell you a case in point.
Lying to yourself or
exactly.
self-betrayal.
And you believe the lie.
Yeah,
I had a friend of mine, a dear, dear friend of mine, that he thought he could sing.
Ooh.
And he couldn't sing.
Damn.
And I put him one time on my show just because he was my friend and I wanted to.
Okay.
But he was terrible. And but he really thought in his mind that he was a great singer.
Yeah, okay.
And he was not a great singer. He was not a singer, period. And so we have to know our strong points.
But there's
and
hope.
I'm not a comedian. I'm not a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, you were.
If I have any talent, and I don't know if I have it or not, I think it may be in a humorous type of, like Will Rogers, that sort of thing, where you can.
God, all your references are. I don't know him. Will Rogers?
Well, no, not Will. Will, what's his? Will Rogers is humorist.
I don't know who
Well,
Will
that's
Rogers
because it was
is.
before your time. If it was before my time, these people existed way back. But I do read once in a while, and I see.
Yeah, let's get a little image there.
There he is. There he is.
Okay.
He was a humorist. He was not a stand-up comedian, but he had fantastic humor.
Okay.
There you go.
Neat.
See?
Yeah,
See?
for the podcast listeners, it's black and white photos. He looks like a big smile. He's standing on a bull. He's doing kind of a circle thing with his rope. When they.
He was really something, and I think if I have any talent, and I'm not saying that I do, I kind of fall in that category. But I'm not a stand-up comedian. I admire people like my favorite was Richard Pryor. Oh God, I love Richard Pryor.
He was stand-up?
Stand-up comedian. Don't you know who Richard Pryor is?
No, let's get a photo of him. Let's see how.
Where have you lived, for God's?
I'm telling you what, it's a lot of.
lived in a cave.
It's
or
a lot of
something?
research on how
Richard
to make
Pryor?
stuff better.
My goodness.
Okay.
There's
Oh,
Richard Pryor.
you know what? Yes, I he's from the movie. Yeah, I've seen this guy. Yeah, I know who this guy is.
Richard
100%.
Pryor to me was a genius.
Wasn't he in the movie The Toy?
Yes,
That
he was.
super
Mhm.
racist undertone. Yeah, I don't even know how that movie. Yeah, let's go come back to this conversation over here. The times have changed, man. I'll tell you what. Any more good, solid pieces of advice?
Oh,
here?
yes, if I could read him. I have about
Yeah.
14 of them, and I can't read my own writing. Let's see.
Well,
Let's see.
we are
say
here.
something.
Yeah, we're gonna throw up that ticker. I'll say we are Riches and Rags podcast. You can find us on twitch.tv/delaostudios. You can also find us on YouTube at delaostudios. We'll be doing our best to start making a Reddit community, get a little roast going on. This is a call to action.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
If you're gay, admit it.
If you're gay, admit it. What is you trying to say something, Uncle Val?
No, because I'm not gay.
No, I meant about
But
me.
are you gay?
No, I'm not gay.
Okay. There's nothing wrong being gay.
But
I
I
don't think.
wear clothes that make people question.
Well, that's true. But I told
Well, that's true.
No,
yeah.
I told myself a joke right now. No,
well,
but really,
say it. Say what's
don't. If you're gay, admit it. I happen to have friends of mine who are gay,
Okay.
and a couple of them do not admit it. They,
Come out of the closet, you. Yeah,
once you admit something, how much? That's it. So,
I like that. Just be true to yourself, really. Yeah.
and let's see here. Oh, I think I've said them all
You think you've said them all?
because I can't read my writing. I told you the one. Don't trust a fart.
Yeah, that's
Don't join.
I think you should eat breakfast.
Don't join the mob.
I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give are basically eat a good breakfast every day, get a good workout in every day, and try and give yourself a space in between the day to just not do anything, to just maybe meditate or relax in the middle of the day, like lunch.
I tell people, I come back to the original thesis. Be a good person.
Be good. Listen to the little
When
voice.
you look in a mirror, do you like that person there?
Well, it starts to melt.
If you're overweight,
so no.
if you're overweight, you say, "Oh, you're looking yourself in the mirror." And if you don't like yourself as an overweight person, then lose some weight. If you're skinny and you need to gain some weight, then when you look in the mirror won't lie. And if you feel you're too skinny, then start eating. And if you smell,
I have a good question. What about your friends that might need a little encouragement? How would you go about that? Because I just want to say from personal experience, one of the biggest motivators to get my ass off the couch is when my brother, Ryan, he tells me, you're getting a little fat. You're starting to chub up. I could see this. I could see that. It's starting to get disgusting. He'll tell me, I feel like I'm not completely overweight, but it gets me going, you know? And he's the only one that is that brutally honest with me. So.
Well, I think that he's got to be a little tolerant because we all are a little overweight or underweight and whatever, but don't be too critical on anybody.
If you've got a friend,
and of yourself as well.
If you've got a friend who needs a shower or they need to exercise,
what's the statement that people say? Give me a little lax or give me a little
slack.
Give me a little
slack.
Slack.
Yeah.
Give me a little slack, for God's sakes. And I can understand that, but you know what I mean. I'm talking about being obese. You know, when you're very heavy, and then if you look at yourself in the mirror, you're going to say, "Hey, I'm obese. I need to lose some weight," and not only because of looks, but more so because of health.
Health is the king of the.
You're not going to live very long if you're obese, and you're not going to live very long when you're skinny either, because that's anorexia. We have one famous singer right now that they think this eventually is going to die because she's just so skinny. We had one who died a few years ago, Carpenter, because she just wouldn't eat. And when she looked in the mirror, she thought she was fat.
So maybe the mirror lied to her.
No, her brain was lying to her.
Her brain lied to her.
Her impression to her of herself. Just like the guy that I told you a while ago. He thought he was a good singer. He was not. But in his mind, when he sang, he thought he was Frank Sinatra.
So I want to come back. This is really important. If you're maybe in this position where you think you're something you're not, how do you find out that you're not? Like, if you think you're a good singer, how do you investigate that to prove it? Or if you think you're healthy, how do you investigate it to...
Just make a recording.
Record yourself. Okay.
Record yourself, and you're going to find out you're not a singer.
Okay. I like that. Or like I did, go to an open mic, try to say some jokes to see if you're funny.
That's what happened to me. I thought I was a stand-up comedian, and I went on a cruise ship, and they almost threw me overboard. So
I like that.
The actual truth is, like I said, record yourself.
Got to test it, and I think people, their opinions matter. They do have a point of view.
Your relatives will tell you if they love you. Ryan is very truthful with you, and I'm sure you're the same thing with Ryan.
Yeah, but I think he's a little bit on the spectrum, so he has no filter.
Well, that's true.
He just was...
when he was wearing that real long hair, I said to myself, "Oh God."
Yeah.
I almost told him about that, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But anyway, your friends will tell you, your relatives will tell you, and if not, you make a recording or look and see in the mirror, and you'll know. If just jump on the scale will tell you if you're overweight or not.
I like that.
There's many ways that you can tell. And then try to correct it if you want to. If you don't want to, then you won't have to.
Well, that's the beautiful thing, especially for singers, there are ways to improve. Yeah, it's a natural-born talent for a lot of people, but there's exercises that can be done just like any skill to improve. So just keep testing. Yeah.
I have a lot of limitations that I corrected myself. I didn't want to go in that direction because I did not have the talent for it.
What corrections?
Well, I used to sing, and my brother and I made records. We were quite successful in that level. But I knew that I was no Julio Iglesias or Tony Bennett or whatever. I was not good enough to go into that plateau or that level, so I quit. And I knew it. And I also knew that I was not. I didn't go into acting because I didn't particularly like it.
Again, that's important.
And I don't think I would have been a Marlon Brando anyway. So what the heck? I'm not going to go into acting. What I was good at, when I got on TV after a few years, I got pretty good at it, as in the Val DeLao show. And that's why I was successful, because my show was on the air for 25 years. They will not keep you on the air for 25 years if you're not good.
You leaned into your strengths, right?
But I cultivated myself. I educated myself.
Educate yourself.
For the first 6 or 7 years that I used to watch myself on video, I did not like myself.
But you watched yourself to criticize and fix
Exactly.
yourself. It wasn't vain like your friend
No,
who's
no,
like,
I was trying to
I'm
correct.
awesome. I love the way I
No,
sing.
on the
Yeah.
contrary. I
Yeah,
didn't like
this is
myself.
important.
And I said, why is it that you don't like yourself?
I think a
well,
lot of-
because I'm
yeah.
squinting my eyes, or I'm turning to the left when I'm supposed to turn to the right, or whether, whatever the case might be. And I kept correcting, I'm wearing the wrong color of suit, or I am, I remember I told you one time, so I used to have the habit of sticking my elbow out. And the camera would cut my elbow off. So I corrected that. And I kept correcting things over and over and over again. And little by little, I started to like myself.
Okay.
But in the beginning, I didn't like myself. And if you notice, like Johnny Carson or some of these people who became very famous and very successful, in the beginning, they didn't like themselves either. And I the other day I was watching Johnny Carson when he started on TV, and he wasn't very good. He was good. You could see he had the basic talent, but it was not cultivated. It was not
wasn't
refined
or polished.
It was not polished at all. You had to get polished, and after a while, after years and years and years, you get very polished.
That's really the only way is to just
and
perform.
then all of a sudden you're watching
over and
somebody
over.
and say,
Okay.
they're really good. I think I can do that. You can't. You can't do it. You cannot do what Letterman did or Carson because they've had years and years of experience and years of being polished. I used to see Sinatra. He gets up in the beginning. He was good, but
Ooh,
not that good.
there goes the
Here goes the phone
the
again.
weekly podcast phone call.
People are complaining.
Is it the
because we're
same person
talking-
every week?
What?
Does the same person every week call
No,
you?
it's a real estate lady who wants to buy my house or something.
Can I answer it?
No.
Can I talk to her?
It's going to be over pretty soon. There you are. But
If it was a spam call, I
know
just
your
mess with
limits.
the guy.
My advice to people: know your limits. And I'll never be a Tiger Woods. I cannot play golf that way. I cannot be a Joe DiMaggio. I cannot be an Obama. I cannot be a Thomas Edison. I am what I am.
This is why it's important to build a team with other people who have strengths and skill sets of their own so they can alleviate you from some work that's maybe not the best for you. It's where you can really lean into your talents and let them lean into their talents. Don't want to try and do too much.
Somebody told me one time that if you think you're a singer and you're not, I'm talking about the Spanish genre,
Sure.
Spanish singing in Spanish. This person told me, he says, if you try to be a singer and you don't think you're quite that good, then form a duet.
Form a duet.
Yeah.
That's a
And then if you
clever-
still don't think that good, he says, then form a trio.
Okay.
And if you think you're not that good, even then organize a quartet.
It's actually a nice production technique for a musician singer. If they don't have a quartet, you can layer your own voice 4 times over. And
Exactly.
The Beatles
So what
did
I did is I joined a mariachi band.
that. Nice.
And even then I wasn't that good.
You really played mariachi, yeah?
Pardon me?
You really played mariachi?
No, I don't.
Oh, no.
No. By the way, those people are very talented also.
Hell yeah, they
my
are.
Goodness, yes.
I remember some of
They're
the
very talented.
family parties.
I used to
you had.
promote them. I used to book them. I admire all performers because they're very good in their genres. Are very good, and I just love people, and I love performers. I love to see singers. The other day I was watching Tony Bennett. Oh, but he's good, and Peggy Lee. Of course, these are the people that were before your times. Who are the modern ones nowadays? What are they?
One of my favorite new projects is Silk Sonic. It's come out with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, who were originally their own independent artists, and they decided to make like a new band. It's like funk. It's so good.
Who's Bruno Mars?
Oh, come on. You know who Bruno Mars is. Maybe you're not familiar with Anderson .Paak, but
No, I don't.
Bruno Mars seems to
No,
be
I'm familiar with Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Do you know who Tony Bennett is?
You talk about him a lot, so only
Do you know who Lady Gaga is?
I know who Lady Gaga is, yeah.
Okay, we used to date.
Nice. She let you get to second, third base?
And I went Gaga when I dated Lady Gaga. No, I don't even know her.
Okay.
I see her, I admire her, and she's very good. Those people are all very good, because that's why they're in that particular high on the scale, because they're very good.
They do that work behind the curtain for 10 years before it ever surfaces, right?
They're very good.
Really practice.
They dedicate their lives to it. From the moment that they're 19, 20, what did Sinatra do all his life?
I mean,
he sang.
Croon women, yeah, sang.
He sang. He sang till the day he died. He sang.
Okay,
that's all he did. He wasn't a mechanic. He was not a doctor. He just sang. And if you dedicate your life to a certain career, a certain genre, and you know you're good at it, then you get polished more and more and more and more, and you become very, very good.
I actually think about this a lot, almost in the sense of Tiger King. Have you heard of this guy, Tiger King? No?
Yes, I have.
I mean, think about it. There's a lot of people who tame and train tigers, but imagine doing it for so long that a few people quit, a few new people come in who aren't as good, and over time you just become one of the best and one of the most well-known because you never quit. You hang around the barber shop long enough, eventually you're going to get a haircut.
Exactly. La Changari, for example.
Who? La Changari?
He was a gangster.
No, no idea.
He did it so long and he practiced at it so much, he became a very good gangster.
Okay, perfect.
Dahmer, what's his name, the guy?
Oh my God, yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer, one of the best serial killers.
Exactly.
I mean, about
if you want to be a serial killer,
you got to study his work, man.
You
tell you what.
That's great. I'm telling you, he was really polished.
But he was sloppy because he got caught.
That's true. But he was a very polished serial killer. Now, if you want to be a serial killer,
don't get caught.
Get a picture of Dahmer in your bedroom and hang it there somewhere. And
I wouldn't recommend that, because if police ever come investigate your property and they see a bunch of serial killers up on your wall, it's a lot of evidence of your conspirators.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
well,
don't kill people.
No. Be a good person.
Be a good person.
And, one of my advices is and be happy.
That's a tough one. I don't fully agree with that. I think the pursuit of happiness is a fool's errand.
No.
I really believe that.
No. Well, learn what are the things that make you happy.
I think happiness is, like you said, rich, fame. That's a byproduct. That's not what we should be chasing. I think happiness comes after you've fulfilled yourself in other ways. If you're chasing happiness, it's like chasing a dollar bill.
No, I'm not saying chase it. I'm saying
be happy.
Be happy.
Well, how do you be happy if you're not?
To be happy. Are you happy now?
I'm trying to be, yeah.
No. Are you happy now, yes or no?
I would say I'm rather content, yeah. Am I happy to the point of elation? No.
No.
There's degrees.
There's a lot of what's the word I'm searching for? Levels of happiness, but for the lack of a better word, but ask me if I'm happy.
Are you happy?
Yes, I'm happy.
There's a difference in Spanish, like eres feliz or estás feliz.
Soy feliz.
So like eres, like
soy
are
feliz
you
con mi lombriz.
Yeah, that's like I am inherently happy, but estás feliz is
you know what? You didn't hear what I was saying.
What'd you say?
I said soy feliz con mi lombriz.
Con tus lombriz?
Con mi lombriz.
I don't know this word.
You know what lombriz is?
No.
Worm.
Cool.
So I'm happy with my worm.
Great. Glad to hear it.
Soy feliz con mi lombriz.
Right on, I'll remember this phrase in case someone else says it to me.
I'm not saying that I don't get angry. I'm not saying that I don't get disappointed. I'm not saying that I don't have moments of unhappiness. And the greatest unhappiness that happened to my life is when I lost my wife. She died. And since that day, I'll never be completely happy anymore. I was happy when we were together. And I had my family. My house was paid for. I had 3 children. And we had no financial problems. I was not rich, but I didn't care. My circle of happiness was complete. We used to travel. And when I got up in the morning, I would see her in the kitchen or in the bedroom or whatever. And that gave me a lot of happiness.
Well, what if you were to take your own advice now? If you are not completely happy now. Be happy. How would you take your own advice?
Well, I cannot be completely happy anymore, 100%. I would say I'm 85% happy.
But then, but how do you convince yourself to be happy? Is it just a choice? Is it a state of mind?
I think it's an effort.
Is it physiological, what you do during the day?
Both physiological and psychological. I think you have to make an effort to be happy. Instead of being relying or dwelling on the negative, rely on the positive. This podcast is part of my happiness.
I'm glad to hear it.
Because I'm involved in something. If you have certain unhappiness in your life, get involved.
Like with other people or a community?
With other people, with another job, reinvent yourself, do something.
Okay.
You know, I have reinvented myself many, many times through life. I started as a student. Then I went into selling shoes and working for a finance company. I ended up on radio. From radio, I went to TV. On TV, I was there for 25 years. But in the meantime, in the last 5 years of my TV, the last 3 years, I went into medical school, became a naturopathic doctor, and here I am as a podcast expert.
Now, I hope we can at least develop a well-known presence. I think we
Sure
can.
we will.
I really do.
You know, everything takes time.
Yes.
If you want to raise a child, it takes time. If you want to build a house, it takes time. If you want to get an education, like a doctor or a lawyer, it takes time. So a podcast takes time. I might not be here with you. I'm like Martin Luther King, who said, I might not be here with you when you're finished, but don't erase this podcast. Someday you're going to say, my Uncle Valdelao was here, and he was the one that we and I got started on this thing. We had 3 listeners, and then 5, and then 7, and now we have 3-4 million.
That would be awesome.
But he's not here anymore, but that's all right. You can play them back to my great-great-grandchildren. And
hopefully
tell them this is your great-grandfather.
Hopefully they
and
take
he
your
said
advice.
a lot of stupid things on this program.
Oh,
but that's all right again. Because we're all the combination of a lot of things. Stupid, funny, we're serious.
We just have to admit it to ourselves, right?
Be
true to yourself.
My standard answer to anybody is, they said, well, why did you do that? I said, oh, why did you make that mistake? I said, because I'm a flawed human being. We're all flawed human beings. I'm not a perfect human being. Neither are you. I said it many, many times.
I'm the real vanilla bean.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not a human being. I'm the real vanilla bean.
Yeah. There was only one perfect human being on this earth. And I've told you who that is.
You have told me.
Pardon?
Who is it?
Our Lord Jesus Christ. I believe that. Now, people do not believe it. That's fine. We all have the right. We have the will. God gave us the will. That's what makes us different from the animals. Animals behave only on instinct.
I'm going to convince you otherwise soon.
What?
I'm going to convince you otherwise soon.
No, I know, because I'm sure you have some videotape or something. But human beings have the will. You can choose. I could choose not to come to this podcast or be in the podcast, or you can choose not to invite me or invite me. So we all have that will, that we can exercise our will. An animal will not do that. When an animal wants to poop, it'll poop. Whether it's...
Hold on. We have some sort of...
No, I slammed on the door.
Yeah, I cut out the mic really gnarly.
Are you all right now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
It just cut out the mic.
When an animal wants to poop, he'll poop on your rug or your chair or whatever.
Not if he's trained.
Huh?
Not if he's trained.
Have you tried to train a cat or a mouse or something?
Yeah. My dog doesn't go in the house. Not ever. Not since a puppy. I think animals are more connected to the universe, and they have a sentience that you haven't quite accepted
they
yet.
have a way of thinking, but they don't have a will.
I disagree. I really think
You
there's
mean the dog chooses?
a dog wants to play and have fun. A dog wants to love its owner. A dog wants to see other dogs.
But that's part of his nature. That's in his DNA.
But it's still a will, nevertheless.
No, that's not his will. A dog doesn't choose to play. He plays because that's part of his nature. He poops because it's part of his
Well,
nature.
think about the wolf. I mean, yeah, sure, but then you could just say that's humans' nature. Is
Now,
that
you and I have a will. We can choose. Think of the word choose. A dog cannot choose.
I disagree. I think a dog can choose. I do.
Well, he can choose, yeah. If he doesn't like this bone, he might chew another bone. But I'm saying, okay, humans have a more refined, they still don't have a will.
Our decisions, and the problems that are presented to us are just on a deeper spiritual level. A dog doesn't have an opportunity to say, should I stop this murder from happening? Should I protest against my masters? Like, they're just at a lower level of existence. But that doesn't mean they don't want things. That doesn't mean that my dog would. Sometimes I give her the choice. Like, I'll let her choose between a Frisbee and a golf ball. Because two of the things we do on walks are either I'll do like a Frisbee at the park or we'll take a golf ball to the ditch. And sometimes she'll pick one over the other. She'll look and I want the Frisbee. Okay, we're going to go play Frisbee at the park. Or sometimes she'll look and she'll touch the golf ball. Okay, we'll go play with the golf ball in the ditch. Sometimes she doesn't want either, and she looks at me like, I don't want either. And I have to say, are you hungry? Oh, she goes to her bowl. But I mean, I do think that dogs and animals want things. I do. Well, that they have a will and that they have a choice. Their choices might not be as significant as ours. They might not affect reality as much as a human's choice. But I think they still have choices.
I'm going to investigate this a little bit further because I'll give you an argument on that.
Okay.
Because we humans, we have the will. Animals don't have a will. And I'll stick to that up to this point.
We'll agree to disagree for now.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of animals and humans, we've been trying to get that lion video for a while.
That's a good thing. If people happen to be listening to us, in case. Sure. Because I don't know if 3 people are listening to us, if we'll have 3 opinions. And, but if you guys have any comments on this will about the animals or whatever.
Animal sentience, free
I
will.
say that we're different from the animals because we have will and the animals don't have will. They operate mainly on instinct and we don't. We have the right, we have the intelligence or the will to choose. We can choose whatever we want to. An animal will not choose. An animal, if he wants to poop, he'll poop.
Well, okay, so let's define choosing. Is it overriding your instinct? So a human chooses because we have an instinct to do something, and we choose not to do it.
Oh, we have instincts too.
And then we just choose not to do those instincts.
Exactly. We overrule the instinct.
Well, what about dogs? What if it has an instinct to eat your food off the table, but you've trained it not to, and now it decides not to eat that food off the table?
You know, I'm glad you said that because I have a cat.
That would be a choice against an
my
instinct.
Cat wanted to jump on my bed.
Okay.
She wanted to jump on my bed. I say she because she's a female cat. I changed her name from Max to Lucy because I didn't.
Max can be a girl's name. Mackenzie?
Well, true. Well,
I know Max is short for Mackenzie.
Well, I thought it was a male, but it turns out she's a female.
Maximilian.
But anyway, she jumped on my bed. I didn't want that. Okay. And I didn't want that because she was leaving hairs on my pillows or whatever.
Fair.
So I told her no, and she would not understand what the word no meant. But I got physical with her. I just pushed her off my bed, and now she understands. She won't get. And I said no, and she will not get on my bed.
You think she doesn't want to sleep on your bed anymore? You think that desire to be in the nice bed spot just went away?
No. She still wants to.
Yeah, exactly.
But she will not jump on my bed because she knows that if she gets, I'm going to hit her.
And that is a override of instinct. The cat has an instinct to
satisfy. I'm training her.
But we train ourselves too. Maybe the animals can't train themselves. Maybe once humans start interacting with them on that emotional level, animals can then start to enter the realm of human choice. I mean, if the cat wants to sleep on your bed, you tell it not to, and then later it overrides that decision, it's making a choice against something it wants. That's free will, right?
Well, if she gets the urge to poop, she's gonna poop on my bed.
Has she done it before?
Not yet.
I don't think she will. Cats are smart. They like their litter box. That's actually something that baffles me about kittens. Again, it's an instinct, but they just like the litter box. You don't really have to train a cat to use a litter box. They just like sand.
Well, because the sand, or not necessarily sand, or dirt.
The dirt, yeah.
They just want something that they can claw into it, and then they can cover their poop with that.
Yeah, so that's more, I think, an instinct. Like, in my experience, training a dog, house training to go outside to go potty is totally different than a cat. You don't have to teach a cat, but you have to teach a dog, in my experience. You know.
How do we get into this subject?
Free will, animal sentience. We have choices. I don't know. We got into it, but what do you think? Should we go another 10 minutes? Or should we call it quits at this point?
Oh, let's call it quits.
That's fair
I'm
enough.
running out of free will here.
You're running out of free will? That's fair. You need a burrito?
I can wear with rancheros, whatever.
Keep that gas tank above half full, right?
That's true, right? Yeah. You cannot you always keep your tank half full. Or more.
Right.
Anyway, I wish I had read these things. What was it?
We are Riches and
I
Rags
wrote one
podcast.
Here. Don't pick on the weak.
Don't pick on the weak. Yeah, that's a good one.
Don't pick on people who are less fortunate as you are.
Okay.
I have a handicapped daughter.
Okay.
She's mentally challenged, and I, when I take her to meetings with some contemporaries, I see these people are full of love. It just talking about love. There is love right there. My daughter is 100% love. She's weak in some other way. So, what I'm saying, don't pick on the weak. Don't act superior. Some people they think it's superior to other people. We're not. We're all poop. We'll all eat. We all smell if we don't take a bath. We're all the same.
Like Diogenes said to a prince, he said, I was looking for your father's bones in the graveyard, but I couldn't tell the difference between his bones and the bones of a poor man.
Exactly.
I couldn't find your father's bones. They all looked the same.
We're all the same.
Doesn't matter if you're...
And so don't pick on the weak. That's one of them that I put here. And again, I got to reiterate this. Don't let your job consume you.
Your job, workaholism.
Or your career or whatever, particularly if you're married. Because you're going to find out that your wife is sleeping with somebody else if you're too busy. You're supposed to do your job at home too. If you don't do it, you're going to lose your wife or your husband.
Or work with your wife from home.
And if you don't work with your wife, call me.
God.
No, and I'll give you some more advice.
Yeah, let him know when you're not working. He'll.
There's a little humor there, but very little humor.
Yeah, very little.
No humor at all, in fact. Okay.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We're excited to drop some new episodes with some new guests. Tune in soon. We'll be releasing those names shortly. Thanks again, Uncle Val, for visiting us today.
And who are you?
I am Lil Teabags, for short, the real vanilla bean, Tyler DeLaO.
And I am Val DeLaO from the Val DeLaO Show. And by the way, the Val DeLaO Show, I got to say it again because eventually we're gonna put a lot of episodes on YouTube, and we're gonna have some here as well.
Maybe, depending on the copyright stuff. Your episodes contain a lot of performances of entertainers whose music and performances are copyrighted. So
I'll investigate that, and the ones that are free of that,
okay,
we'll do it.
Okay, it would help. Yeah,
and we'll put some Val DeLaO shows on the air here, and
I want to, yeah.
And the interviews that I have with these famous people, they're my interviews.
Yeah, yeah.
And people like Kirk Douglas or Anthony Quinn or whomever was famous on my show. Muhammad Ali. My favorite interview was Muhammad Ali. Mm. But we had many others like Jack Lord, Hawaii Five-0. I know you don't know who he is. And people like Mr. Ed, the horse. No, that's something else.
Mr. Ed the horse. I remember that. They'd put peanut butter in his lips to make it look like he was
Yeah.
talking, right?
A horse is a horse, of course,
Well-
of course.
Okay.
That was funny.
Surprised I know
By
that.
the way, that guy that was a star of, he played off Mr. Ed.
Mm-hmm.
What was his name? Young or Robert Young or something like that. He
No
was the
clue.
only guest that I had on my show that was the rudest person I have ever met in my life.
What was rude
And
about him?
the reason why I say it, he was rude is because he's dead. He died already. If he was alive, I wouldn't say it.
But what was rude about what he did?
Well, he came into the studio.
Was the first rude thing he
And
did.
anybody who's familiar with TV knows that sometimes the cameras are a little off. That's why we used to white the cameras.
Ooh, good.
In other words,
Yeah.
and
The color of the
color cameras have to be balanced. The blue of this camera has to balance the blue of this camera, and the
Damn.
red with the red, etc. Otherwise, when you switch cameras, you got a blue person, then a red person, etc. And sometimes they get off balance.
Okay.
So when this gentleman came in to do the show with me, one of the cameras was off balance. And the engineer told me, Val, would you please notify your guests? It's going to take us about 10 minutes to balance the cameras. And in fact, many times I would stand we had to get something white because if all the cameras are white, then we know they're balanced because then the blue will be blue, the red will be red. And many times we didn't know couldn't find anything white. So we would get a piece of paper like this.
No white
put it
dudes
before
working
the
on the
camera,
set?
see? And one time I even took my handkerchief off and to balance with white. Anyway, I told this man, I said, I think it was Young. I said, Mr. Young, I said, it's going to take us, we have one of the cameras that's off balance, and the engineer told me to tell you guys, and it's going to take about 10 minutes to balance the camera. And he says, you mean you're not prepared for me and that sort of thing? I'm leaving. And he turned around and left.
Wow.
I thought that was very rude.
Missed opportunity for him.
Particularly because he was familiar with TV. Who has not been in this business and haven't had to wait 10 minutes for the set to be put up or a camera to be balanced? Or,
You know what? I bet he was pissed because the milkman was fucking his wife.
I don't know.
He was probably in a bad mood that day because he knew the newspaper guy.
Let me see. One of the things that I don't like is people who use the F word.
My bad. He was taking care of his wife.
Good, that's better.
Yeah. Sorry, Uncle Val. I forget about that. So you're just so dang cool. I forget about it sometimes.
No, I think I don't think it's necessary.
A lot of things are unnecessary.
Well, that's true,
Yeah.
but it's because you don't want to hurt people, and you hurt me.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to forgive you this time.
I will do my best.
Next time, I'm going to put my .38 revolver over here, and if you say the word again, I'm going to boom. That's right. No, I just don't like that word.
I understand.
And I've used it myself many times. Not many times, but I have used it in certain occasions. But, like I told you before, I think the F word is a release word. When you are at the very end of something and you're going to hit somebody or you're going to do something that normally you would not do, you spew out the F word. And in that case, it comes in handy because you release the anxiety that you're feeling at that moment. But other than that,
it has no use.
one of my favorite TV personalities, Bill Maher.
Okay.
I love his show. And he used that word constantly, and I don't like it. Sometimes I turn him off.
Dang. Well, I will keep that in mind. We're making little adjustments every episode. Well, should we wrap
Put
it
a
up?
sign here somewhere that says, don't use the F word.
I'll do it if we can put another sign
Put it
up.
right behind me.
I'll do it if we could put up another sign that says to turn off our cell phones during the.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
See, I agree with you.
And mine went off the last one. I had an alarm that
You
went off.
did not
I was,
remind
I
me,
was
but
embarrassed.
now that you remind I'm going to turn it
yeah.
off now. Is that all
Well,
right?
it's at the end of the episode. It doesn't matter no more.
I'm Val DeLao, and I love to be with you on this show, and I love you.
Love you too.
And we'll see you next time, hopefully.
See you next week, guys.
Thank you. God
Take
bless
it easy.
you.